Whew, hitting that red record button was not the easiest thing to do today, but I'm doing it. No makeup on my face, but I'm doing it. All right, y'all. So, hey, y'all, for those who know me and for those who don't, I am Auntie Thick, Candlewick, burnt and risen, burnt and risen, burnt and risen. Y'all can call me Thick, okay? Um, I am a 5 clear psychic medium and channel. It is an innate gift I was born with. It is not something I practiced or learned how to do over time. There were no elders that taught me. There was no one in my family that did it first, and I learned. I was just born with this gift. I've been able to talk to both cosmic energies and energies that have crossed over since I can remember as early as the age of 3. My gift has been something that as a child I realized was a complete and utter embarrassment to my family, and also a source of discontentment in our religious circles. So I learned early on to suppress my gift. I made that statement in particular because the next thing that I'm going to say is going to be very important. People often confuse psychics with witches or spellcasters. You can be a psychic and a spellcaster. You can be a spellcaster and not be psychic. But just because you're psychic doesn't mean you're a spellcaster. Spellcasters are very smart people who learn how to work with the solar system and the planet, including the moon, to alchemize ingredients that create an impact in the real world. They have to know astrology and chemistry, and they're practiced, studied. That's why they cost so much. That's not me. I'm not interested in learning that. I don't know anything about astrology. Ask any of my clients. There's a girl who I work with who knows astrology very well. I used to like to listen to what she had to say. I don't know numerology. Just the basic stuff y'all can see on YouTube clip shorts. That's what I know too. I did not practice or walk into this life. It was delivered with me upon birth. So sometimes I know things that I don't even know other people don't know. And I don't know to ask that you don't know, because it's innately built into me to know certain things. And I get that that can often make people uncomfortable. I've lost whole relationships with people thinking I knew things about them that they didn't tell me. And by the way, you guys, that I absolutely did not know. I may crack a joke, and that joke is so in alignment with your reality that you decide to never speak to me again for telling your business. And by the way, I didn't know your business to begin with. So the gift that I have is not one that I've been able to necessarily control in a way that didn't make people feel uncomfortable. On top of the knowing, I have energies that are with me all the time. My ancestors are welcomed everywhere I go. Everywhere. So I could be talking to someone, having a conversation, and I could have one of my ancestors standing next to me who might say something like, you know, the person who about to walk up on you, you're going to be able to smell that nigga's feet through his shoes. Okay? And then a person will walk up, and sure enough, I can smell their feet through their shoes. And I could just start giggling. And I might be giggling while I'm in the middle of a lecture about ETFs, and people are looking at me like, what was funny? They have no idea that my grandmother is talking about this person with these feet smelling in their shoes, you know? But this is the way I present in the world. Is it the way I choose to present? It is the way I present. And if it is a choice or not, it is the way I present. The gift that I have, some people find it interesting and intriguing and they want it. And other people find it as a source of absolute fear. Because I've always had it, and because I've always had those visceral reactions to people have always given me those visceral reactions, I am very comfortable with people being uncomfortable around me. However, I never force myself on anyone, and I move right on out of environments where I'm not welcomed. I've learned how to do that since a very little girl. The other thing that I've learned how to do quite well is defend myself. When I was younger, I'd fight a lot. When I got a little bit older, I learned how to use my tongue to a point where I would make you feel like you were dying on the inside. I learned how to fiercely protect myself. In this stage of my life, I don't do either fighting or words. I just let things go. I observe the energy coming at me and I transmute it for what I need. And then I let things go. Sometimes I want to revert back. And a couple times I have. But I feel guilty when I do, so I don't. I recognize that we're all having situations that we're silently dealing with, but what we give to the world might not absolutely be what we are meaning to in the moment. So I always give people grace. And I always hope to be able to get some grace. But the reason that I'm making the video is because in all of the communities that I've been sent to throughout my life, particularly since I've been aware of my gifts as an adult, every one of those communities has shunned me away, normally for being weird. Normally because the way that I look and the way that I carry myself doesn't match the energy that, or the actions that I portray. When you see me, you would probably likely assume that I was very materialistic and beauty was important to me. You might also assume that, I'm someone who thinks I have it popping and I have a very active and lively social life. When in fact, I do love beautiful things and beautiful people, but I'm not materialistic. And I'm not interested in engaging with anybody physically who I can't first engage with energetically and spiritually, fully. I don't get caught up in the things that people say. I get caught up in the way people make me and others feel. So I don't respond as people would expect that I would based on how I look. And that's unfortunate for you, not for me. There are people who find it very hard to see me as a person different from the person I used to be. It's very hard for them to accept me as a prayer person, someone who meditates incessantly, someone who gives spiritual messages to people who call in. it's hard for people to see me that way. It's hard for them to accept that this girl has a connection to her spirit guides, the angels, ancestors, God, Jesus. It's hard for people to see that, and I can understand why. In the past, they've had different experiences with me where I was not calm. I did not have inner peace. I did not know myself, and I surely wasn't aware of myself or others the way I am now. So when they interact with me now, they are looking for the holes in what they think is a persona that I am putting forward. What they are unaware of is the persona is what existed in the past. What I show you now is me more vulnerable, me more willing to cry at the drop of a hat, me willing to not hide behind looking good, to not show you that I'm hurt. The persona existed, and I dropped it. When I had the persona, I lied a lot. If I worked for the phone company from the time I was maybe 20 till about 29. The people, there were 5 women who I became very close friends with. And now that I look back, I think to myself, I don't know why those women befriended me, because I was a complete and utter liar. I lied about everything in my life. There was no way I could be honest with people about what was going on in my life, because it was so different from other people's normals that I saw. I lied about everything, and all the time. I lived a life of a lie. But during this time, I was making so much money. I could travel all over the world. I was doing so many things during the time that I lived in this persona of a life and a lie. And when I tell you, I don't want to tell you I was just living a lie and I didn't have this and that. No, I physically lied out of my mouth. I wanted people to see me in a way that was not true for me, because I did not want them to see me the real way. Now I live a life where I'm okay with you seeing me the real way. I'm okay with you seeing my imperfections. That unnerves a lot of people. It's almost like being vegan. When you're vegan, it seems like people really attack you for not eating meat. And I could not understand, like, why do people attack vegans so much? And it's not because you're vegan, it's because you saying you don't eat meat makes the person that you're talking to question, why do you eat meat? But that's not what you're doing. You're only stating who you are. You are not confronting or pointing fingers at another. You're just saying, I don't do this, or I do this. And other people take that as offense. And I believe that the same happens when you decide to become a spiritual person. When you decide, I am no longer going to participate in gossip. I'm not going to agree to do things that are out of alignment with what I think is my moral integrity. I won't compromise myself to lie for you anymore. And that makes people a little upset. So in addition to them having to deal with a new persona, is what they think it is, they also have to deal with a new way of interacting with you. Your loyalty looks different now, or it looks absent. And maybe that is why my brother, my middle brother, has led the charge to allegedly ruin my reputation, to allegedly expose me as a fraud, to allegedly create a narrative that I am an angry Black woman, that I am promiscuous, that I am bisexual, that I am a liar. Some of those things would have been true back in the day, but I've never been bisexual. In the past, I've been a complete liar. I've never openly harmed anybody for no reason. I've never done spell work on anyone in my life. I have never gossiped with my brothers about anyone since becoming a spiritual leading person, and that is maybe the last 5 or 6 years. I've not intentionally ever tried to harm anyone. Back in the day, I was responsible for sleeping with people's boyfriends or husbands. Sure, I did those things. I absolutely would look for men who were in relationships because I knew for sure they would not be trying to get me pregnant. I knew for sure when I needed to leave the country, there was nothing that they could say. I knew for sure that they wanted me to keep their mouth closed so it would come with a fee. So I was that person in the past. I'm not apologetic for it. I paid my dues to those families that I interrupted. Spirit wiped the earth with my ass for years. Oh, I went through my dark night of the soul. I don't want you all to think I got away with anything. For years, I was in poverty, homeless, no friends, college degreed, unable to get a job even as a bartender or a grocery store checkout clerk. I could not get any sort of work until one day after 3 years of being able to do nothing, to not even pay for myself. I couldn't buy myself a bar of soap if I needed to. I had to borrow money to do it, donate plasma. Shout out to the people who sit in those plasma centers twice, 3 times a week trying to donate to get $40 or $50. I was in those lines. I sat in the public aid office trying to get food stamps before you could just do it online. Oh, I did it all. What else? So I would save pennies and use that to pay for things at the store. And y'all, I'm not talking about the distant past. I'm talking about maybe 5 or 6 years ago. My ego does not exist. It's just not there. I'm not gonna tell you that, this happened way back in the day. No. And by the way, right now, as of July 31st, called the Department of Human and Family Services and said, I don't want to do this no more. You can cut all of this shit off. Because since I've been back here in the States for almost a year now, I ran out of money after about 4 months. All the money I saved, America ate it up in 4 months. So I am not talking to you from a place of, I got it now, so I could tell you how it was for me in the past. No, I could tell you I'm coming out of it right now. Right now I'm being released. Right now. But I have been under the control of some people. My brother, who I love unconditionally, and who I really wished loved me the same way. My brother is the person who has been behind so many terrible things that have taken place in my reality. Allegedly. Allegedly, it's been my brother who has hired people and teamed with people and done his own work. When I caught him staring in my back window, he was actually there to see if the work he had done had worked on me. And let's talk about the work that he done. His intention was to take me back to the past. His intention was to take me back through the gauntlet of homelessness, of poverty, of living with family members who you couldn't afford to pay, that would treat you like shit. Being led into homes by complete strangers who don't know you but might demand sex for you to stay. He wanted me to go back to my family looking at me as though I was a complete and utter failure so that he could look bigger. But how much bigger do you need to look? You have a medical degree. How much bigger than me do you need to be? God gave you access as a leader of the community just by you becoming a doctor. You are such a unicorn. There's so few black doctors. There's plenty of African ones, so many West Indian ones. But black ass doctors from the south side of Chicago, raised in the hood, still living in the hood, owning property in the hood, every day pulling their car into the hood. You are everything. I always thought you would be. I always knew you would be. My brother had turned 17. He had turned 16 or 17. He skipped a grade. He was so smart. He skipped a grade. And this was his senior year of high school. He had been invited to all of these like Ivy League conventions or wherever. He got accepted into all these schools. And my mom was so afraid to let my brother go. My mom and my uncle, Benny, they were trying to convince my brother to choose Northwestern so that he could stay local. They just did not want to let him go. And I looked at my brother one day and I said, let me tell you something, bruh. You are no less than Ivy League. Leave. Go to Dartmouth. Do not look back. Fulfill your dreams. You don't never have to give us nothing, and you don't ever have to come back. You just being successful is enough for us to live off the vapors of that. Go. And my brother decided to go Ivy League instead of Northwestern. I still support my brother fully, and again, I will reiterate, I love him unconditionally, and I don't ever want anything to happen to him. But that is no longer my choice. There have been multiple things done over a long period of time that have come to my awareness. From being recorded in my home, audio and video recorded, to being set up for an accident or some sort of huge thing happening with guns, and there's been money stolen and moved around. People have been lied to. So much has been done. And I have questioned to God. I have questioned to the ancestors. I have questioned them. Why my brother and why me? What did I do? And they said to me, you don't know your place. He prefers you quiet and unhappy. He prefers you to allow him to lead. He believes in a family there can only be one star. But I was birthed to Lisa and Earl, and they were project people. They were raised in the projects, and I was their firstborn. And what I know more than anything is that my parents were willing to sacrifice everything to ensure that though I lived in the ghetto, and a lot of ghettos in Chicago, we moved. Though I lived in the ghetto, they only sent me to the best parochial schools Chicago could offer. There were times that they couldn't afford to pay the tuition and had to beg people to pay my tuition because they wanted to ensure that I was educated well, no matter where I lived. They taught me tenacity and to fight. They taught me that no matter what I look like or where I came from, I deserve to keep going. These people taught me that you are not done until you say you are done. So persistence was built into me. My parents pulled themselves up by those bootstraps people talk about all the time. And God only knows what they did to get there. But I know that they had one goal, and that was to ensure their children never spent a night in a project building, in a bed, in a home in the projects. That was all they wanted. They ended up building a school that has over the years employed over 60 different people who could feed their families. They've educated thousands of kids who went on to go to college, start families, businesses, careers. I come from people who push through no matter what obstacles they face. And it's unfortunate to know that even my parents saw my brother as being more worthy, more believable, more in alignment with God and the truth and what is right and what is just and what they want and what the world needs than me. That, in fact, was in their choice. But when your disdain for someone or your dislike for someone extends to the intentions of unaliving them, extends to the intentions of permanent ending spell work, the only response I have for that in an age where I don't confront and I don't fight is to walk away, to express my disappointment with my spiritual team, to let people know what my experience has been so that they can find resonance right now in the moment with what I'm going through. And so that the people who are in alignment with my brother and his work, to the people who have allegedly sent negative energy my way with your tongue, with your bodies, with your intentions, I want you to know that I stand here today. I sit here today letting you know that I am more confident in who I am than I've ever been in the entirety of my whole life. I have stepped into my purpose fully. I will not be moved. I will not stop. I have messages to deliver. I am here on mission. Whether you respect it or not ain't my business. But anything sent my way, since I dedicated my life, soul, and breath to this work that I do, everything you've done has bounced off of me. I don't know where it's gone because I also don't send shit back. I don't do return to sender anything because I don't create karma for myself in that way. The only thing I ask my ancestors, spirit guides, God, Jesus, Archangel Michael, and Raphael is to protect me from anybody who sends the intentions of deception, hurt, harm, danger, attack, confusion, or dishonesty my way. You no longer have control of my name. You can no longer speak on who I am because I get to tell you who that is. No definition you've put out there of me being a liar, of me being a cheat, of me being promiscuous. I've been abstinent for over 2 years. For me lying or stealing from people. You don't get to control the narrative on my name anymore. If I have ever in my life, if you've come to me as a client and I have saved your life, let them know in the comments. If you have come to me as a client and I have told you something about your future that was going to happen, that saved you or stopped you from doing something else and it took place, let them know in the comments. If you have been a client of mine and you have been experiencing homelessness, and I have not only told you when you were going to find a home, but where it would be and what it would look like, let them know in the comments. These people are trying to say that I'm not legitimate. They are coming up and attacking me so hardcore. But I am giving breath and life to situations. I'm saving marriages and I'm keeping relationships together. If I am your counselor right now today, and I have put a new sense of life back into your relationship with your mate, you let them know down in the comments. I'm a single woman and I'm out here telling people how to save their marriage. I don't know nothing about that. That's God. I'm a single woman and I'm telling people in relationships how to look at each other differently and love each other differently. I don't know nothing about that. I know God. And I speak what I'm told to speak. I say what I'm told to say. But nobody owns my name but me. And let me remind you one more time. Lisa and Earl named me Tiana Denon Williams. But my ancestors, spirit guides, and elders named me Auntie Thick Candlewick. Burnt and risen, burnt and risen, burnt and risen, and I have done my last burning, and now I am in the stage of rising, and I want you to know I will not close the door until God does it himself. I'm uploading this. I am not proofreading it. I am not going back and editing it. It is what it is. I love you.